On today's Technobabble, copyright for your live stream.
This is Tech No Babble, your weekly source for church video and graphics news, perspectives, tips, and tricks. And now here's your host, Paul Clifford.
Hi, and welcome again to another episode of Technobabble. This is the show where every week we talk about using video and graphic design in the church. My name is Paul Allen Clifford. I'm your host. I'd love for you to join the conversation, by the way. So head on over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/contact, and you can do that there. Or if you're watching the video, just leave a comment below that. That's cool as well. Also, you might know I'm a little occupied over on Twitter, and so you can always find me there. Just hit me up, Paul Allen Cliff, PaulAlanclif, and that's a good way to get in touch with me as well. You know, when it comes to copyright, you would think that people think of it as an optional thing. What's funny is the Bible really doesn't give us that leeway. Here, let me tell you what I mean. Let's start with Romans 13, the whole chapter. Romans 13. It's all about following the law. Now, what's interesting is it's written by a guy who would be eventually martyred for not following the law. Now, you might find some historical irony in that, but when it comes down to it, he says that if you don't follow the law, then you should expect that the results of not following the law will happen to you. So I think that the Apostle Paul knew that if he didn't follow the Roman law about not spreading Christianity, that what would happen would be that he would probably be arrested and punished in some way. As a Roman citizen, probably not crucified, but beheaded or whipped. He'd actually been whipped several times, so he's probably knew that that was going to be the case. So that's the first thing. The second thing is this curious phrase that's uttered both by Paul and Jesus: the worker is worth his wages. You see, it may sound to American ears like something you'd hear from Poor Richard's Almanac, maybe just a little saying that people say, but in fact it does go back that far. And the idea is that someone that does work should be paid for that work, unless for some reason they turn it down. So we've got that. Then we've got the Constitution of the United States, which doesn't make mention of a lot of things, but does make mention of copyright. So we've got a lot of precedent behind copyright, and it's confusing. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not playing one on this podcast, but I want you to consider a few things. First off, you might think that the Happy Birthday song, which I'm not going to sing because it's so old, is in the public domain and you can sing it to your heart's content. But when you think about your experience where you go to a restaurant, and you'll notice that in general they tend to sing their own birthday song instead of the normal one that everyone sings, then you might realize there's a reason for that. It's not just that they're trying to be cute. The reason is that it's under copyright, and they could literally be sued for a public performance of the birthday song. Now, you might think, well, surely all the hymns in the hymnal are this way. Are they? Yeah, sure, A Mighty Fortress Is Our God is in public domain, which is why I use it a lot on the screencast show, because Martin Luther's been dead a good long time, and he really doesn't so much care about making any money because he's been with Jesus so long. So he doesn't care. But there are other people that have been dead a long time, decades, and their work is still under copyright. What's really interesting is there are a couple of hymns that you might just assume are public domain, which are not. So, for example, Great is Thy Faithfulness. Now, this is the hymn. I'm not going to sing it because Great is Thy Faithfulness is, in fact, copyrighted. It's under copyright until 2018, assuming that Congress doesn't monkey with the law anymore. I'm recording this in 2015, so for 3 more years, it's under copyright. But there is, let's see here, Turn Your Eyes Upon Jesus, written 1 year earlier. So you might think, well, that's probably under copyright until 2017. No. It's been out of copyright since 1997. Confused yet? Yeah, you should be. That's the way copyright law is. It's not immediately obvious what has a problem and what doesn't. So, when it comes to a live stream, err on the side of getting licenses. So, Ccli makes a streaming license. The church copyright people also make a streaming license. The Ccli license, the streaming license, not the regular Ccli license, this is different. The streaming license covers Christian music. And you might think, well, we only use Christian music. Really? Have you ever sung Happy Birthday to someone? Ah, yeah. You see, secular music sneaks into our culture, and so it's possible that you would have a problem if you were to sing the Happy Birthday song to the 100-year-old deacon that just had a birthday. You see how that's not good? So we've also got the Christian copyright streaming license, which covers also secular songs, which is good. Now, if you're absolutely sure, that's one thing, but I would tend towards erring on the side of caution. What about video clips? Well, as it turns out, video clips are not mentioned in any of the fair use doctrine for what you can show in your church. So there's the church video license, CVLI, but that doesn't cover streaming. Now, it might be the case that you can get permission for individual clips, but it's probably not the case that very many movies are in the public domain. It's a Wonderful Life, for example, was in the public domain for several years. In fact, that's why it got popular. But using an interesting court case, the owners who bought it after 3 or 4 different situations, I won't get into it, but the owners have asserted that they have copyright because of some of the music in It's a Wonderful Life and the book on which it's based, which they also own. So that's kind of an odd situation too. So you can actually think that you're doing something above board because at one time it was in public domain and it's snuck back into private hands. So copyright is one of those things that I want you to think about as you're live streaming, and I want you to consult some legal help because, I'm just a tech guy. I'm not a lawyer. Granted, my bachelor's degree is philosophy, so I think like that, but that doesn't mean that what I say would hold up in court at all. I'm sure a judge and jury would laugh at me because I am not a lawyer, so this is not legal advice. But I just want you to be aware that there are these things that could get in the way of your live stream and that could cause problems as you're going out and changing eternity. So reference the show I did about why YouTube may or may not be the best choice for live streaming, because that's another copyright issue where even if you're covered by the appropriate licenses, you might have trouble. Even though it's not legal trouble, it might be trouble nonetheless. And so I want you to consider that and move on with your live stream and figure out how to deal with it. If you like this content, don't hesitate to go over to trinitydigitalmedia.com/gifts. There I have a free gift for you, and you can get a free copy of my email newsletter, which I send out at least once a week with announcements of new things that I'm doing, some tips and tricks, things like that. And I have just launched a new site. This is the first show that I'm mentioning it on because I just finished it. Learn ProPresenter Fast. This is a site I've been thinking about doing for a while, and it's all about using ProPresenter in your church. So if ProPresenter is something that you use and either you want to get more advanced in it, or you're in charge of a church that has several people and you just need to do training for a lot of people and you haven't gotten around to it, that's for you. So until next time, this is Paul Allen Clifford with TrinityDigitalMedia.com.